You are listening to Mining Stock Education, where you'll learn from the top leaders in the natural resource sector and uncover quality mining investment opportunities.
I'm Bill Powers, it's Mining Stock Education, and in today's show, we're getting an update from our sponsor, Trillion Energy, and its CEO, Art Halleran. Art, welcome back onto the show. You're 5 for 5 on the wells drilled and producing. Please give us an update on the newest production results from well number 5.
Yeah, it's great to be back, and I'm happy to give you the results. So Bahanli 2 was the well we just drilled, so that's number 5, and it tested about 12 million cubic feet per day, and we put it on production at 8, and that's the production it averaged for the first week actually of it being on, and we perforated 20 meters in that well. We went to perforating one zone, like 5 meters, and now we're perforating many zones because we realize we have to compete with the volume so we don't back out other production.
Okay. And this is your highest producing well to date?
It is. It's about the same as Gulich, when Gulich was on. So it was about the same, but we only perforated 5 meters and it was 2,000 PSI in Gulich, whereas this one we perforated 20 meters and it was about 1,400 PSI. So we're trying to, have a larger volume at a lower pressure to compete with the higher pressure wells.
And how many days are you into well number 6?
So well number 6, we already have the surface casing, the conductor pipe in. We're probably about 450 meters right now. So we're on day number 4.
Okay. And how much does each well drill cost? I saw there's some discussion of this online.
Yeah, so each well depends. So this one here was probably in the order of 11, maybe 12 million. A longer reach, the longest one might be 12, 13 million. A sidetrack can be 8 to 9 million.
So at $14 per MCF, which is where we're at, what's your payback? How quickly do you make that money back?
So at the high cost it is right now, the payback is now probably 12 months to maybe 14 months. When we had the higher price, the payback was like 4 months, right? It's still pretty good because an economic cutoff is 3 years, and these are well under 2 years. Like I said, it's probably 18 months, something like that.
So as a producer, obviously, you're a price taker, not a price maker. Yeah, the Henry Hub price is super low. I had someone on the show recently where they said nat gas is going to be a great trade over the next year to 2 years. What do you foresee with the price that you're receiving, Art? Because this obviously affects the economics of the company.
Yeah, so this is the third month that we get the same price. It's $14.14 US, that's Botas. And then just in the last couple of days, the price of the European gas has gone up about 40%. So they're starting to see that there is going to be a squeeze and the futures are starting to ramp up in price. So I truly believe that we're not going to see $14 to $11. We're going to see $14 to $18 to $19 in that range.
And that'd be sustained over a 2 to 3 year period, you project?
No, I'm looking at 1 year at a time, right? And it's because there's no way you can predict the price of gas. Really, you can't predict it past 4 or 5 months because they just said it was supposed to be going down. And then the last couple of days, it went up. So I see it probably $14 to $18 for this year, the winter of 2023 and beginning of 2024. And after that, you're probably in $12 to $11 range.
Okay. So you are the 49% partner. TPAO, which is essentially the Turkish government, is who you JV this with. When you have all the upfront expenditure on a well, a question came in, how quickly are you going to receive back the 51% paid back to you so that your balance sheet looks better?
So what happens is we drill the wells and then we TT the wells, we case it, we go in and we set the packer. And the minute we set the packer, we then do a cash call, and they have 10 days to pay, but they usually pay within 5 or 6 days.
Okay. So that brings us to your financials. Your quarterlies came out recently. What did that look like? And also a question came in about, are you going to do more financing, because there was a financing that was referenced in the quarterlies?
When you want to be a transparent company and you want to be full disclosure, you have to disclose things that don't actually make you feel good. So what happens is, when we do the financials, it's kind of like a snapshot. And so after the quarter was done, if we carried things on exactly the way we did, so the price of gas is going down, the drilling costs are going up, we were backing out some of our production, so we weren't getting the production per month that we anticipated. We do not generate enough cash to be self-funded, right? It doesn't mean that we can't correct it. It just means that when you're standing at that point and you see everything like that, you say, okay, to do your program that you want to do, you have to do another raise, right? So we are trying to get around that now by perforating Akachoka 3 in more zones, perforating West Akachoka to mitigate some of the backing out costs. We also, when we did the financials, we were using $11 MCF gas. Well, we now got 14. So it doesn't mean we're going to do another financing, and it doesn't mean we're going to do an equity raise. Like, me, there's no way I would be a champion for doing an equity raise at this low price. If we have to do a debt financing, we can, or something like that. But what I'm trying to say is that I am the last person that want to say I need to do some financing. But when we did the audit, the quarter, the conversation is, there's no way we can continue drilling the program we intended without doing at exactly the same way we're doing it, without getting more money, right? And we'll know now, we'll know that after we perforate these other wells, and when we start doing the other quarter, the likelihood of doing or having to do another raise.
Okay, thank you for that answer. Last week, you traded 33 million shares in one session, and I talked to my friend Kerry Lutz on the Financial Survival Network, who also is an investor, and you go on his show, and we said amongst ourselves, like, I just don't even know what to understand. I don't even know how to interpret that. You've had like 26 million share days. Art, explain to me what happened when you're trading 33 million shares on a given day.
Yeah, when I talk to some people and they say, what's going on with your shares? And I say, I don't know. They say, what kind of CEO are you that you don't know what's going on with your own shares? If you don't know, nobody else does. So I hired some financial people, and they don't know. So it's definitely some groups. This is my interpretation. So in a 33 million day, you have to have, not only do you have to have sellers, you have to have buyers. Because if you sell 33 million a day, you're going to knock the price down unless you have buyers. So some of the financial people I hired said they have indications, or they hear rumors that it's the same group that's selling, at the high price. So it starts off at 35 cents, and then it goes down to 28, and they buy as it goes down. And then some institutional people come in or something like that and buy, and the price goes back up to exactly where it was before. But the first group made a few pennies. So it's like share flipping. Because when you sit there and you say, the day before I traded a 900,000, or I traded 1.6 million, and then somebody decides, oh, I'm going to sell 33 million shares today, there has to be some kind of avenue to make money, or they wouldn't do it, right? The one thing that is positive about it is that when you get a day like that, everybody says, who is that company? Like, they're trading 33 million shares a day. And also, when you look at the price that we ended up with, it was almost the same price as when we started. And we turned over 33 million shares. So that's showing you that there is interest, and there are a lot of people in this company as investors.
When it comes to a dividend, a question came in, how soon might TCF, that's the ticker symbol for Trillion, issue a dividend?
So that's one of the things that I've always said, that if the company builds to a certain size and you have a certain production, and that, finding a 100 BCF or a 500 BCF field is not really going to move the share value, and you start losing a certain percentage of the shareholders, you pay a dividend. I would not see a dividend being paid for at least, I would say, a year and a half in that point, because I have enough locations and enough other things that we're doing, which will be news released later on, to pretty well use up the revenue we're going to be getting, to increase the company's value through growth on oil and gas, right? And that's another thing too. When I step back about mentioning about the equity raise, and it's not the equity raise, but it's some kind of capital, is that it's only really a short window that we have an issue, right? It's only a short window of 1 or 2 months. After that window, we generate enough revenue, right? So it's only that short window. But when you look at that short window, the accountants will say, you're going to have to raise some money to close that window one way or another, right? Unless, like I said earlier, we find a way to increase the production on the wells, or the price of gas goes up, or some avenue in that line.
Art, can you give us an update on your exploration plans? Have you acquired any new blocks? What is the status here?
We are looking at other blocks. They aren't necessarily in the water, because when we look at the issues we have with the water, it's like there's only a few rigs. It's very expensive. We got to have infrastructure. So we're looking onshore in Turkey. We have 2 projects that are fairly a long ways down the conveyor belt or the road to making a decision on it. And one we have decided we will pick it up, and it will be probably maybe in August or in that timing we'll do the application. The other ones are people are trying to get us to farm into their property, so we're looking at a big range of those. And it's both oil and gas.
Oil and gas. Okay. So then it's not necessarily, as we've talked in the past, the same source rocks that had produced the huge discoveries about 100 miles north of you in the Black Sea. We're talking about different source rocks, I assume, with some of these projects?
Yeah. So those ones we are continuing. Like we're continuing with those because we have on SASB and we have off SASB. So those are, we're redoing the seismic, as you know. So we're continuing with those. But we're also trying to find stuff onshore, because it's $2.5 million to drill a well. We have a selection of 10 rigs that we want. It's not, $13 million a well, and we only have 1 rig to choose from. It's a short tie-in on land, very inexpensive versus a subsea pipeline. So we are still looking at the SASB area, but we're also looking in Turkey and other areas.
The recent election outcomes in Turkey, any impact on what you're doing in Turkey?
No, none at all.
Okay.
It's just business as usual.
All right. And then Research Capital Corp has covered your stock. They last issued a buy rating at $1.35 Canadian. Any commentary on that? Have they changed that projection since we last chatted?
Yeah, I believe they went down to $1. So I think that's the last analysis they did, and that is taken into account that we have the debenture. We took the extra capital and stuff like that. So they have now put it to about $1 per share. And the only disappointing thing for me is that I don't know why people would sell the shares at 36 cents or 28 cents or in that price. I mean, that's sub $1. I believe the shares are worth a lot more than that.
Excellent. So in terms of news flow, we got the 6th well. We should look for that. And then possibly some acquisition announcements. Do I have that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. It'll be exploration type, prospects we'll be picking up. Either we'll be doing both. We'll do it 100% solo, and also we will be looking at farm-ins to really, really good prospects. And the reason is we really have a good reputation now in Turkey.
And you have cash flow, which makes things nicer too.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
All right. Well, you've been listening to Art Halleran. He's the CEO of Trillion Energy. Website is trillionenergy.com. Ticker symbol TCF in Canada and TRLEF in the States. Art, thank you for this update.
Yeah, thanks for allowing me to chat.